All these people were sports betting. They got me in on it and I lost $15,000. I kind of hit rock bottom right there. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to somehow make it back. I realized that jewel pods at the time were really popular. And I was like, I could sell this way better than he could. And out of nowhere, I had maybe over 300 people reach out to me just saying, hey, I heard your name is Ethan and you're the pod plug. One thing led to another where I was making like $250 a day in profit.
All right, welcome to the Business Blitz Podcast. We're here with Ethan Cohen of Pod Plug. Ethan, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Colin. Appreciate it. A little bit about myself, born and raised in LA, and then I went to the University of Miami, graduated in 2020. I double majored in finance and real estate and minored in accounting, but I always had an entrepreneurial knack in me. I guess I'll give you a little bit of background about how I started my company, and I can just dive in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
A little bit of history. Whenever I was a freshman at the University of Miami, a lot of the people on my floor in my freshman dorm were people from New Jersey, New York. They absolutely loved sports betting, right? So it kind of all started there, right? I didn't know it at the time, but now I do. I had a really addictive personality. So that was a good thing and a bad thing, right? It started off pretty bad, but it turned into something good. So kind of how it started was all these people were sports betting. They got me in on it. And fast forward, 3 months, my freshman year, I lose every single dollar to my name. I had maybe $97 in my bank account. And I lost $15,000. It was all my money saved up growing up from parties, birthdays, etc. And that hit me really hard. So I kind of hit rock bottom right there. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to somehow make it back, right? And I realized that a lot of people, I realized that jewel pods at the time were really popular in 2017, 2018. And I had a friend like selling them out of his dorm. And I was like, I could sell this way better than he could through distribution. And my distribution channel was my fraternity, right? And the other sororities as well. We had this group me. So I wrote in the group me, hey, I'm selling pods. If anyone wants it, let me know. And out of nowhere in the next 2 weeks, I had maybe over 300 people reach out to me, just random people from the school, just saying, hey, I heard your name is Ethan and you're the pod plug. And I ended up sourcing these jewel pods from distributors online. Obviously, I don't think it was that legal at the time. I didn't have any permits, but I was selling it to people 18 plus. And at the time, the legal age was 18 plus to use these products. And I was buying them for like $9 a unit, started selling them for like $20 a unit, made $11 profit. So 55% gross margins. And one thing led to another where I was making like $250 a day in profit. Wow. I literally meet people like at the library on campus. I just pull out the jewel pods out of my backpack, hand it to them. They'd Venmo me.
That is amazing.
So funny. It was like a gray area kind of dealing, right? And I'd meet people in like the frat house. So they'd come to like my apartment and then they just pick up the pods. It was really convenient for them to do that instead of going to a shop and buying them for a little bit more expensive as well. And I got a really good clientele base. And then I reached out to like 15 of my friends in different universities. And I recruited 12 of them to be my sales reps. There were kids from like Tulane, USC, UCLA, UPenn, Penn State, NYU, just a bunch of different universities. I'd ship them the inventory and then we'd split the profit. So we bought it for $9, they sold them for $20. We'd make $5.50 each, right? And that was really nice. So I tracked everything on a spreadsheet, formula driven. And at one point we were making I was making personally $750 a day in profit, pure profit.
Wow.
So we were moving these things. And the distribution channel was the Greek life, all the fraternities. Just popping in the group chat and just do the hub and spoke model. The hub, you get all the spokes. And it just blew up. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to definitely make this more legal and automate it, right? And obviously I was in Miami. I was going out a lot. I was having a good time. And when I was out, I realized two problems. One, my phone would always die when I was going out, right? And I would do I was drunk, right? I would do anything for a phone charger. I think at a point, like, I think I would have paid like $50 for a phone charger to call my Uber, right? So that was one problem that me and a few of my friends experienced. And then the other problem was people wanted these vapes whenever they were out because they were using alcohol, right? They thought it was like the best mix. And some of them left the bar or the club in the middle of the night, right? And by the time they leave, what are the odds they come back, right? And that's where I realized that there was a problem in the market, right? And I thought, okay, if people are leaving like 30 minutes during their night out, and by the time they come back, there's a line or they don't come back, the establishment, right, the bar or club is losing money in alcohol sales and bartender tips. So I thought, okay, this is an unrealized need, right, for your customers and for the venue. And I thought, what if we can automate this through vending machines, right? So the next day I started cold calling maybe like 30 or 40 different vending machine suppliers. I found one that would work really closely with me in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I ended up buying a refurbished machine for like $3,000, and I shipped it to my fraternity house. I asked the owner of the house if I could do it. He goes, yeah. In the first month, the machine generated $4,000 in revenue. It absolutely, it went crazy.
Wow.
So the machine was essentially at like a 60% margin, and the machine was paid back in like a month and a half, 2 months. And crazy story, the last day of school, someone shattered the glass and everyone in the fraternity just stole all the products. And then I look on Instagram and I see on Barstool, there's like 3 million views of this video of this like Jewel Pod vending machine just getting absolutely wrecked.
Wow.
And it went viral. I ended up getting over 100 DMs from people in other fraternities saying, this is genius. How can I bring this to my school? How can I bring this to my local bars? And I was like, holy shit. This was just kind of like a side hustle trial. I didn't think this would turn into a business, right? And now this is like my junior year at this point now. And I'm like, wow, I think I have a business under my belt. And I ended up signing like 10 contracts with other fraternities in like all over the country. And we start growing like wildfire. I ordered a few more machines with the money I made. And then we end up running a campaign with, this was kind of like the OG Barstool, but for college, called Total Frat Move. They got like 3 million followers on Instagram, and we paid them a few grand to run a campaign for us to recruit campus ambassadors to get these machines in local bars and clubs in these college towns. Because the college market was a gold mine, right? And we ended up having 1,000 people apply, and each person would make $400 to $500 per referral. That turns into a machine being installed in their local bar, right? And we had 1,000 applicants. Some people even wrote essays, right? It came into a Google form, right? In a Google sheet. People wrote essays saying why I'm the best candidate for this. Please choose me. I have sales experience. I'm friends with the bar owner. I'm friends with the GMs. I'm friends with bartenders. They had connections, right? And I ended up cold calling. Now this is like my first semester, my senior year. I ended up first or second semester. I ended up cold calling like all of them. And between classes, my senior year, I was making maybe like 40 cold calls, right? And I was eating one meal a day, this same chicken breast at the cafeteria, grabbed the 2 chicken breasts, ate it quickly, 5 minutes, and I ran back to my desk, and I just started grinding on the phone, right? And I ended up recruiting 52 sales reps in different college towns all over the country, right? 3 weeks later, they end up signing over 110 bars and clubs to get these machines in them. And I'm like, holy shit, this is now February of 2020. And I'm just freaking out. And I raise money from family and friends. I also get a loan, $250,000 to order 80 machines. 80 machines is what I ordered. We instantly became the largest customer from our supplier in the factory in North Carolina. And he ended up hiring 4 people to the supply chain for these vending machines as well. Wow. So he was trying to pump out like 15 per week, just building. And we ended up shipping about 30 of the 80 machines to these college towns. Things go really well. And then we hit, in February of 2020, we hit $80,000 a month in revenue, which was amazing. We had this one machine in Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, generating $6,500 a month in revenue in a frat house, in like a senior off-campus house. Wild. And 2 weeks later, COVID happens. Absolutely wrecked us.
Damn.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That is just an absolutely insane story. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time listening to that. Wow. That's just unbelievable hustle and just being opportunistic. When you see something that's working, when you see demand, double down. I absolutely love listening to that. That was fantastic. So, well, where are you at today? Because obviously you had to change up a little bit. So where are you today?
Yeah. So we also realized that these fraternities were kind of an unsustainable market because we'd ship the inventory to these people in these frats. They'd stock the machines. Who knows if they stole the inventory? It was really hard to keep track of everything. And it was hard to like have them stock the machine weekly on a consistent basis, right? Because they were busy. They weren't that responsible. They weren't really getting a cut out of this. It was just an amenity, right? And I realized that we ended up launching in Austin, Texas, and we were dealing with the same problem. We even hired someone to restock the machines. And since our machines are in bars and clubs, Fridays and Saturday nights are our biggest nights. 95% of our revenue comes from those 2 nights. And the person restocking the machine, we had 8 machines there. She had a full-time job somewhere, so she was working part-time with us, 7-8 hours a week. And I get texts from her on Friday saying, hey, I got a flat tire. I can't stock the machines. Or, hey, I got really busy. I got called for another shift in my other job. I can't do it. And we'd lose like thousands of dollars in revenue just doing that. And I thought, this is ridiculous. We ended up hiring 4 different route drivers who are people who restock the machines, right? And go on the route. And we thought this model doesn't work either. Like, what can we do, right? And that's when about 8 months ago, I thought of franchising as the solution. I thought, how can we get a piece of the pie? And whereas the person who owns the machines have skin in the game and they care, right? They're going to make sure that the machines are stocked every Thursday or Friday in time for the weekend, right? And that's when I thought this business, the vending business, is an owner-operator business. That's the industry, right? And you got to be the local one restocking. You got to be the owner restocking the machine, ordering the inventory, up until you're at a point where you can hire someone to do that for you and you oversee them in your city, right? But I was operating a remote business, so it's really hard for me. I mean, I'm in LA and I operate this business in Texas, right? It was really tough. So I thought franchising is a solution. So I tapped the largest franchise consultancy in the US called iFranchise Group. And I'm paying them like over $125,000 to develop our entire franchise program, from what is our royalty structure, how do you select territories, what's the franchise fee, etc. And we decided that we're going to have 3 different models for the franchise business. One, we realized that college towns crush it, as you've seen from our data. Our average machine in college towns generated about $3,000 a month in revenue, which makes the machine get paid back in just a few months, which is amazing. So we have something called Pod Plug Prep, which is our college university program. And then we have Pod Plug Prime, which is like kind of like a secondary city, maybe like a Fort Worth, Texas, right? Or maybe like a Nashville, right? Not a massive, massive city, but not too small. And then we have Pod Plug Prestige, which is metro cities like LA, Miami, New York, Vegas, where you'll have a franchisee have over 50 machines, right? And each one costs a different amount to get started. Pod Plug Prep in the college town is $20,000. Pod Plug Prime is $30,000, and then Pod Plug Prestige is $40,000. And it's relative to the population, the number of machines that you can have in that city. That's why it's priced that way. So we're doubling down on the franchise business right now. And we're building out our systems. We're building out our franchise disclosure document, which is the legal document to become a franchisor. It's like 150 pages. We're creating like our sales and marketing plan. That's like over 100 pages. We have like a 300-page operations manual. That's like our secret sauce that every franchisee will have, which is essentially like their blueprint in how to run a pod plug business. So we're really excited about that. We're raising money right now from investors. And it's our first capital raising round outside of the family and friends. And we are like 30% subscribed right now in our round. We got another 70% to go. And we're really excited to blow this thing up. In the next 5 years, our goal is to have over 200 franchisees and over 6,000 franchised machines in the US.
Wow. That's awesome. Quite the goal too. That's really, really cool. I actually just hopped on a podcast with one of my previous guests. He has a cleaning franchise, 29 locations, started in 2013. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was telling me about franchising as well, and super interesting. So he also spent, I believe, he said he believes anywhere between 100 and 150 to get up and running with his franchise. He didn't have the exact number, but yeah, super interesting, the franchise model.
Yeah, not cheap, but investors love it. Like the valuation multipliers are about like 12 to 15x EBITDA.
Wow.
Whenever you want to sell to maybe like a private equity firm or any other acquirer. So yeah, they love the royalty model.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. I want to put you on the spot a little bit here. I want to talk about the worst business experience you ever had and maybe just like what you learned from it, your biggest learning experience.
I think my biggest learning experience was hiring the wrong people.
Okay.
Right? I've probably made over $200,000 in mistakes, and a lot of it came from hiring the wrong people, right? About a year ago, I ended up hiring like a COO, right? Because I thought I needed help like running the whole operations, running the show. I never really loved operations that much, and I never planned my entire interview process the way it should be. It was always kind of like random behavioral questions, and if I liked the person, I liked their resume, I would hire them, right? I never had a hiring process, right? And that like bit me in the butt really hard. And I ended up hiring maybe like 8 people that have turned over in the past like year and a half. Mm-hmm. And it was expensive. It was costly in terms of resources and my time training them and then just letting them go. Really big mistakes. And I also realized that I hired in like a proactive way. And I think that's a big mistake. I think it's better to hire in a reactive way. I like to hire when it hurts, when you're in pain, right? Because otherwise you're not going to know exactly what to hire for if you're not having certain needs, right? And that's a thing that really hit home for me. And immediately I researched like the best book on hiring, and I found a book called Who by Jeff Smart. And it's just like a 3-step hiring process. You got to create like a scorecard on what you want this person to achieve in their first year, what their goals are, what their measurables are, and be really specific. I like using the SMART methodology: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Always extremely important with any hire in any goal setting framework. And now I have full-fledged interview processes. I have a screening interview. I have an interview walking through like a chronological breakdown of their career and who they are, right? And then I have an assessment, which is like the third interview. I do an oral assessment, and then I make them do like a project-based assessment, whether it's creating a deck of some sort of, if it's like a marketing position, I want them to create like our social media plan and create an entire deck on it, right? So I like to create assessments. Those are always extremely important. So I've learned a ton in the whole hiring process, and now I think I've got it down to a T, and now I know how to really hire A players and weed out the B and C's. That's
absolutely huge. I have a similar method, and you just have to have an interview method. You have to have an application/interview method, or else your hiring is just going to be a crapshoot. 100%. Definitely. And I've learned from experience there as well. So I can resonate with that for sure. Okay, we'll wrap up here. Thanks for hopping on, Ethan. I want you to tell all the listeners today where we can learn more from you if we want more of your stuff. Websites, social medias.
I'd say I'm most active on Twitter, and that's how you and I connected, actually, Colin. My name on Twitter is Ethan_Cohen. So it's Ethan, ETHAN _KOHAN. I'm very active on Twitter. I write all things vending related. I also share some personal stories and mistakes and life lessons as well. I I write threads on there. So I probably tweet like maybe 3-4 times a day. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. Just my name, Ethan Cohen. And then recently, over the past 6 months, I started a free newsletter on how to start a vending machine business. And I spend 3 to 4 hours a week on it. Comes out every Saturday morning. And it's called Becoming a Vendpreneur. You'll see it in my Twitter and my LinkedIn bios as well. So if you want to learn more about vending, let me know. And I'm happy to answer any questions. My DMs are always open 24/7.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Ethan. We'll have those links in the comment below. And thanks for hopping on.
Of course. Thanks, Colin.
Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, click subscribe below for more business content just like this.